three of us here out of the four. And we'll just take care of some procedural stuff up front. I'll call this meeting to order. And anybody want to move adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Right. Any public comment on that? Or do we have anybody in place for that?
That's a good question, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
this is Marie. We are taking public comment by the Zoom phone line today. So the public should see the number on the screen if they're watching, and I can also read it aloud if
That
you'd
would
like
be great.
me to
Yeah,
do
please.
that now. Sure.
Yes.
So if the public would like to call in after any item, you can dial 1-312-626-6799. I'll read that one more time. That's 1-312-626-6799. And the meeting access code is 845-8404-1251. And I'll repeat that again later in the meeting. And if you'd like to raise your hand to make a comment, please press *9 on your phone or push the raise hand icon from your computer.
Okay, great. All right, do we see any public comment?
I do not see any at the moment.
Okay, then back to the commission or back to the committee. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so we have an agenda. And do we have a motion to approve minutes from oh so long ago?
So moved.
Second?
Sorry, seconding that.
Thank you. All right, back to the commission. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Great, we have minutes from February. And
Mr. Chair, do you just want to verify that we didn't have any comments for the minutes vote? Just
sure, I was going to consider that totally ministerial, but yes. Do we have any public comment?
We have no public comment at the moment.
Okay. All right, municipal broadband 170192. Hold on. All right, Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We gave direction to new direction, I guess, to the last city commission, or was the last one, or I don't know, they all kind of at one of our most recent city commission meetings to have the city manager look into things further. I guess I'd like to get an update from the city manager and kind of what his thoughts are on next steps. And then I also have some feedback that I'd like to give after that as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair, if that's possible.
Okay. Let's see. Mr. Feldman, Mr. Hoffman, you want to
I'll let
address that?
Dan jump
I
in.
see Lee's off mute, so I'm not going to speak unless he.
So I'll just make some just quick comments and then let Dan fill in the blanks. But basically, what we're going to do is pick up where left off. There's the broadband study that was done over a year ago. There's the city attorney's memorandum. We're going to put out an RFP with funds that we've identified that were already allocated for this purpose in a previous budget. That RFP will look at reviewing the existing study, reviewing the city attorney's memorandum to look at developing a business case for us to provide broadband services throughout the city to every residential location, every business location, and to help us determine how we use broadband to address the digital divide. So Dan is tasked with getting that RFP put together and get it on the streets and we will hopefully have something back to you in the near future versus far future.
I think City Manager covered pretty much all of it. I'll just emphasize one particular point. City Manager and I talked about how to structure this RFP, and I think it's really going to be a series of, along the way, there's going to be some check-ins, some decision points to be made. So it's not going to be just a large monolithic document we drop in your lap at some point. There's the review of the existing work that's been done so that we're not duplicative. And then second order of business is how do we leverage broadband to combat the digital divide, then develop alternatives. At that point, there's a check-in and then a business development of a business plan for the specific alternative. Obviously, we're not going to do a business plan for every alternative, but we'll be checking in the consultant. We're structuring it so that we check in along the way with you and have deliverables along certain milestones. So that's how we're structuring it now. And fingers crossed.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Santos, did you have any follow-up on that, or Commissioner Areola? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. That sounds like a good path forward. I like the idea of checking in to make sure everyone's on the same page. I do have some things that I like to kind of be considered as we're moving forward on this is and kind of have not just as tight as maybe if we had it last time on some of the issues. One of them would be we had a goal of just looking for how do you make the cheapest internet possible feasible, and I think that might have been too tight, and maybe what can make more financial feasibility, not just what's the cheapest thing too. I think that might allow for more opportunities for it actually to be able to be possible, and to not have the numbers kind of, it's either going to break even or not break even, and it's so tight. Like, what are the more kind of have more not bandwidth, but more of a error area, percentage of error if we have different prices. One other thing to look at, I think it doesn't have to be under GroupCom. It could be under something else. It could be a new enterprise fund. I just don't want us to be so tight in kind of what that is area as well. Another thing is I do think we should do another marketing kind of study or do surveys. The survey that was done before, I don't think was a very good survey. There was issues like it said so many people had home phone lines, and I just don't think those were true. And a lot of things just didn't seem to add up. So I think probably doing another survey and testing out different pricing is probably a good idea as well. I guess one of the thoughts, and like to get the feedback from the city manager and Mr. Hoffman, is should this be kind of looking at maybe doing somewhat of a rollout strategies, or doing kind of, hey, we should do a smaller portion first, and this is what that could kind of look like, instead of just doing it all in kind of one big lump as part of this look as well.
So let me just address 2 points. So on the last point, I think that is part of the development of the business plan.
Okay.
Is, how do you roll it out? Are there areas of the city that, if we can get an investment, helps us reinvest into other areas of the city? And I also anticipate that looking at the previous study would also entail doing some new market analysis, survey work, whatever the consultant deems is the best way to either validate or provide new data.
Thank you, Chair. I guess one other question. You said near future and far future is what's, can you put that into a calendar time frame of?
So what I could tell you is that from our RFP process, I would anticipate having something out on the street, Dan, by September. Okay. On there. And then, giving, 30 to 45 days to get a response back is going to move us into October on there. What I don't know is how long it will take the consultant to do the work.
All right.
that's why near versus far.
I think those are fair timelines. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments on this topic? Okay, look, I have a thought on this, or a couple thoughts. That's an aggressive timeline. I like it, but it's a little aggressive. I want to make sure that we consider this not only, we have to think of it as a business case. We have to make the business case. We have to see what's out there. But I want to make sure that we think about this from an opportunity angle as well, and what parts of the community are served first, and how the rollout happens, and how that works from an equity framework. Particularly if we rethink where this is coming from, if it's a general government piece, I don't know. I want us to think broadly about this, is what I'm saying. And I want us to make sure that we have an equity portion of it. I would like, and I will personally reach back out to Alachua County Schools. I will say that we are not going to be able to be super helpful in the short term in getting kids connected that need to be connected. We can't flip a switch and make this work. It would have been nice to be able to offer that, but we're not there right now. But again, I will start conversations with school board members about how they might be able to be involved in this effort, as well as the county and the other municipalities need to be involved as well. But I don't think we were real specific about how the schools could be involved last time, and I would hope that that's something that we can do. Commissioner Simmons, you had a comment. You're muted.
I'm sorry about that. I'm running late. I was having technical difficulties. So I do not want you all to repeat everything that was said. But if you can catch me up to speed, Chair, that'd be helpful, because I really want to engage in this conversation, and if I can get caught up to speed. Thank you.
Sure. Primarily all we talked about was the manager told us that we're in the process of working on the East Task Assistant City Manager Hoffman with putting together the RFP for more information that we talked about at the last commission meeting. Anybody else want to weigh in on that and correct me, or? Okay.
What I would like to add, I heard we were just talking about equity. If we can engage with Tanisha Marshall's office and maybe look at using the equity toolkit for this project, I think that'd be a great way to go. And Chair, you were talking about getting in contact with the school board, making that contact. And is this also where we discuss maybe the housing authority, or is this where we are to include them in the discussion?
Yes, maybe. We have digital inclusion strategy is our next item, but we
okay. So
yeah,
we're on item number 1.
Yeah, we're still on number 1 there with the
okay,
municipal broadband. Mr. Hoffman, did you have an answer for that?
Yes. So to Commissioner Simmons' last point, when city manager tasked me with this, he was very clear: engage Tanisha Marshall, make sure she gets a draft of the RFP, make sure she sees what we're putting out. I think using the toolkit obviously makes sense. That second deliverable, the strategy towards the digital divide, it would be folly to not make sure we have the toolkit in mind when that portion is developed. And so anybody that we hire, we'll bring them up to speed on what we've been doing, because these are going to be consultants that know a lot about broadband. They're not going to know a lot about our equity work. So I'm going to expect that they're going to have a little bit of a learning curve, and we'll be happy to provide that education to them. And about digital inclusion, I would, hearkening back to your lumping and clumping conversations from last week, I think actually that next item could be clumped together with this one moving forward, because they really are tightly interwoven. I think it's probably why the commissioner wanted to want to talk about it right now because these do go hand in glove. So I think for just a clean agenda, maybe combining these two might make sense if it suits the chair.
That works for me. Until there's a need to separate them, it's good. There was a reason we separated them before. I don't remember what it was, but until and unless there's a reason to separate them, there's no reason not to include them.
The reason before was there was a specific housing authority project we were interested in over at Woodland Park, I want to say, and I think that's moved on, or so it's a holdover from that. But obviously, housing authority plays an important role, so that would be a good time to go ahead and merge the two, I think.
Okay, so the clerk's office hears us on that, putting those back together.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Simmons, anything else on that?
That's it, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two different things. First one, just to, I think, so Commissioner Simmons knows the timeline as well. I think the RFP was supposed to go out in September, and I think that's what Mr. Feldman said, Mr. Hoffman. We're supposed to hit the street in September.
He set stretch goals for me. Stretch goals for me.
So it's 100% sure going to hit the street on September 1st. And
No, I
Maybe August 15th, I heard.
just to correct the record, September has 30 days in it.
And then it should take 30, 45 days on the street. And then we should sometime, probably October, November, be making decisions on those RFPs. I guess that's maybe that's reasonable. He's Hoppin's breaking nail on his head. And in that would be also be looking at the feasibility study we did before, doing really another market analysis, and then looking at the digital divide and seeing how that can be addressed, and then also looking at how can we make it more feasible doing municipal broadband. I think that covered. I don't know if you have anything more, Mr. Hoffman, but
yeah, one other point that city manager brought up in our discussion I think shouldn't be overlooked is that there's doing this in Florida. We're looking for firms that have at least an understanding of our regulatory framework. It is apples and oranges state to state in some cases. So experience working in Florida is going to be fairly important. So that's going to be a quality that we look for.
And one other thing, we're using budgeted money that's already been budgeted in, I think, last year or previous years' budgets. One other thing I would like for us to kind of look at, and this is definitely, I think, and I assume whatever consultant we bring in, but definitely how one of the complaints I've seen out there is being able to work at home with the internet that people have, and just kind of that workforce bandwidth that's needed for home internet that may not be there currently with our offerings. So one of the things to look at is definitely, I think, an expanding area as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you, Chair. And I think this is perfect timing to initiate a new study. And what I would like to see in this study as well, Mr. Hoffman, and you guys just kind of think about it if you can, because we're in such a health crisis and we're dealing with the pandemic. I would love if we can try to look at telecommunications in this study and how effective or how important that is because of the internet and having accessibility to broadband, and not only just try to look at how this would really help our vulnerable populations like our elder population, as well as the education component with the digital divide. There's also a digital divide in our elderly population because we're having so much telecommunications and people are not going to their primary care, to their physicians on a regular basis. This is the future. And I would love if we get some of that type of research in this, and not really group it together, but make sure we're on the forefront of what we know that's coming down the pipeline, and make sure that we can get some type of some data and analysis to support what's coming down the pipeline. I think I think that's just smart for us to be, ahead of this.
Agreed.
Completely agree. I think this is an excellent point. We'll make that a specific called out task in the RFP because, I know from experience over the last 3 months, I've had 2 virtual doctor's appointments and I've got a physical on Wednesday that I checked in online. And if you don't have access to those types of services, you would not have had those doctor's appointments. So I think that's a really powerful point. I'll make sure to call it out so the consultant touches on it.
Okay, you conclude, Commissioner Simmons?
Yes, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ariola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How much is this going to run us?
So it's a good question. As I was thinking about that healthcare piece, I was like, oh, this is going to start getting expensive. We have 50,000 currently allotted. So I would wait to see once I have the scope written, I'd love to give you a more defensible number as to what I think it's going to cost. But I want to see what the full scope is. And then maybe have another discussion with this group before it goes live. I'm not sure when the next one's scheduled, but if we design a scope of work that's going to be 200K, but you've allotted 50, that's obviously something we need to have a discussion about. So let me finish the scope of work and see what exactly that's going to look at. It might be that we have to do some of it in-house because 50K is not going to go real far with this current scope of work, to your point.
Thank you. So that answers part of what I was trying to bring up. But also it seems like maybe there's 2 different things we're talking about. We're talking about a survey and the development of a business plan. And am I hearing correctly that this survey will inform the development of this plan? Are we gonna contract out consulting for the development of that plan?
I'm looking for it to be one consultant that will take the existing study, which has a survey, update it as the consultant believes is necessary to reflect the market conditions since then, and then to develop a business plan for us for broadband.
Okay, so then my question for you commissioners is, what are you looking for in this update that we don't already have? Because the update is subjective. It may be, I mean, I just don't want us to go down this path where we just keep spending for surveys. And I don't know, I guess, are we going to take a vote on this today? I guess that's my next question, because I don't know if I would vote for it.
But my understanding was the commission did vote to move forward, so we were just giving an update.
Well, yeah, the added the uncommitted expenditures was not voted on. I think that much is the point that I'm trying to raise. So, Mr. Chair, my question stands for commissioners. What are you looking to learn that you didn't already learn from the last study?
Fair question. Did you have anything else, or?
That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Chair. At the commission meeting, we did vote on the budget and said we could use the allocated funds that were already there in that vote at the City Commission.
Right.
On the UF Health, or on the health end, in my conversations, and I think you were there as well, Mr. Hoffman, when we talked to the University of Florida earlier this year, and I do think that's an area that they may want to partner with on the health end. It was definitely one of the things that might be something to reach out to them about as well, because I think that's probably even more of a growing concern today than it was back in January, I think, when we talked with them. As far as what do I want? I want better data. I want a kind of clearer feasibility plan, a clearer business plan. something that is more doable. And I also think that things have changed somewhat as well. One of the questions we asked was the cheapest internet. I want to have another question, kind of what's the more feasible one that make like more financial feasible sense as well. So kind of finding some more feasible options, maybe what we had last time is what I'm looking for. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you, Chair. And I think for me, I just want better data. I think that the data that we received last time, because of the pandemic and everything that has taken place after the initial study, for me, I just think the data is wrong. I think we need to really get a better understanding of what we're really facing with right now today, and also look at the feasibility. How can we create something or have something that's feasible? And that's for me, Commissioner Ariola. I want accurate data. I'm not happy with the data that we have. The way that they went about collecting the data. I think there's a large segment of the population that was overmissed, that was not targeted, that was not reached. And I just would like to have more accurate data so we can come up with a better and feasible plan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ariola, I'll get right back with you. Before we go around the horn again, I would point out that the attorney's memo needs to be considered when we go out for the next study, because the attorney's memo kind of, it was a pretty strong statement after the last one. So we need to take a perhaps a different approach, and when we go back out for the new study, have the attorney's memo in mind. Commissioner Ariola.
Thank you, and I appreciate y'all answering my questions. So two things. So first, we can get a different set of data from a different study, from a different consultant. You can always pay for that. How much you're going to pay for it is sort of like, consequential, but we did authorize some funds. I guess the point I'm trying to get at is, if this board had issues with the questions of the last survey, I was sitting in the meetings that this board had when we formed that survey. So now if we want to come back around and change it up, that's fine. We are in a completely different situation, but my gut is telling me that the situation we're in hasn't made it easier. It's made it much harder. So the reason why I asked the first question, how much this is going to run us, and the reason why our assistant city manager tells us that he can't commit to a firm amount, is because we haven't settled any of that. So what I'm trying to convey here is that, I'm concerned that if the price tag goes up and it costs us as much as the last survey, which we were able to save some money on, if you don't remember that, I thought we were able to save a pretty decent chunk getting that last survey. So if this new one doesn't come with the kind of data that we want, that's just where I don't want us to end up. And we went through a very long process to make that other survey go. A very, very long process, very nitpicky. And that's the word I'm going to use, because I remember we sat through multiple meetings making Lewis and everyone from GRUCOM come over and sit down. So we're going to go through this whole situation again. And look, I get it. It's in the city manager's house now. So we're going to see what his office can procure. But at the same time, commissioners, we're the ones giving the direction. And I think I hope you all just hear that I'm concerned about where this takes us if that survey isn't what we want, just like the last one. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, Commissioner Ariola, I definitely hear your concerns, but we do have the $50,000 set aside. I know that's not a lot, but it's something that we do have set aside. Again, my concern is because of COVID, and so many people have been displaced, and so many issues have turn for the worse prior to the initial survey. I just think it's extremely important to get correct data where we are today. Also, what do you recommend? Do you have any recommendations? What are you wanting to see? Tell me what you're wanting to do. I know the funding source is a concern for you. And what I'm hearing is that we can utilize the data that we have, that it's not going to make a difference if we do another survey, but if we do another survey and if we're not getting the information that we're hoping to get, that's a concern for you. I'm just trying to figure out where you are so we can have a dialogue.
Yeah, I think, for me, it's the last direction that I thought that we were going to go down was to start working on a potential business plan. For me, where I'm at is let's just not spend another $200,000 on the data. We've got the $50,000 that we've already approved, and if there's some discretionary funds that keeps it under a certain amount. I don't have a figure. I certainly wouldn't want to spend another $130,000, $180,000 on another study, because frankly, I don't think the data update is going to be worth that much, and I don't want us to get to a place where we're throwing money at consultants to just play with the numbers, so to speak. So that's where I'm at. I just don't want to be wasteful with the survey spending initially, because the crux of this whole matter is that business plan and whether or not we can feasibly introduce this fiber to enough houses at a competitive price, and we don't get boxed out of the market by Cox Communications, and AT&T, of course. Anyway, that's basically it. I just don't want this to get too expensive at the very beginning, because we've already spent a lot of money.
And I agree. So is there something we can say with in the RFP? We're not wanting, because Dan is going to come back to us and pretty much give us an idea of what we're looking at, and then at that second meeting, as a commission, as a group, a group, we look at and just say, okay, this is important, this is not important, because we want to stay under a certain price tag and just pick and choose, or just really sort out what's important. Because I'm with you on that. I'm not trying to spend another 130, 50. I don't want to do that. I think that's irresponsible of us to do that. But however, I think we need to we need to get the good data, and we need to look at, just look more carefully at where we are, and maybe at our next meeting, once staff come back with some options, we can go from there.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good question, Commissioner. I don't think there is a whole lot that can be put into the survey that would be new for me. I think I would agree with you all that there were parts of that survey that hindsight's 2020, looking back, we, maybe could have given them a more flexible price point, all of that. So I don't know that there is a whole lot new, because for me, the conditions and the challenges that present us are still very much the same. So I don't know that there is a whole lot that can be added, but honestly, Commissioner, this dialogue here has been helpful for me. And hearing you commissioners talk about what you're trying to get from it, that's helpful for me, because I just want to better understand the goals here. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing with me, your concerns, because we have to talk about, we have to get to a place where we can all come to a medium. And so I think if we just give staff an opportunity to look at what we're asking and come back to us, and let's have a deeper dive on that information once we get it.
Agreed.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Ariola.
Thank you both. Mr. Feldman.
So just to the extent of potentially mudding up consensus here, I just wanted to clarify so we're clear on expectations. It's not my intent to redo a survey. The intent is to have the consultant look at the data, which is current market data, and to update the market data from when the study was done. I looked at the survey. It wasn't a scientifically done survey. To me, it was more anecdotal than anything. But where fiber is run, where penetrations are, that's all data that can be gotten from the open market. So that's important to update so that we're dealing with 2021 environment on there. Then, the plan would be to take that data and to develop business plans around that data point. So it's not my intent to do another neighbor type survey asking price points and things like that. A consultant should know what the market is, for this area of Florida, and should be able to, make that assertion as part of their study. So our intent is not to duplicate ours. Our intent is to take what we have, update, and build the business plans around that. I do, but also I want to comment that my desire is to put the RFP out there and keep the committee updated as we go along. If we bring every piece of the solicitation to the committee for consensus, we'll never get this done. So, my intent, unless the committee wants it otherwise, if we're going to be aggressive on this timetable of getting the RFP out on the street in the month of September, we're going to, need to act with some autonomy and bring it back to the committee for updates and course correction as we go along.
Commissioner Simmons.
You're absolutely right, City Manager, and I think that initially we will need to meet before you do your September RFP. I think once we get that consensus in the next meeting, and we're not going to pick apart what you all put out, but I think as a committee we need to know, at least have the knowledge, and all of us be on the same page. What your intentions are for September, because I want you all to be aggressive and let's go out and get this done. But I think as a committee, and as some concerns have been raised, we need to make sure that we're all on the same page before you submit your RFP. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else on this one? Okay, we don't have action to take. By the way, we do tentatively have our next meeting planned for August 10th. So we can have more discussion about it then, and it will continue to be on the agenda at that point. Commissioner Santos, you're muted.
Said August 10th is our next meeting?
I believe so. Hang on.
I mean, I don't think we need a meeting in a week and a half or 2 weeks from now, to be honest. I think if we could try to delay it a couple of weeks after that, I think we would get more information back. I think we would just have a meeting just for having a meeting's sake instead of actually having anything real back.
Okay, well, we can talk about the meeting date when we get to that point later in this meeting. It's actually agended for us. So,
all right. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else on this topic? All right, we have no action to take. So let's move into digital inclusion strategies. I'm sorry, wait. Yeah, digital inclusion. Any comment on this? We don't have anybody, anything new there. And that's going to be, again, part of municipal broadband at the next meeting. Data governance, we don't have anything on that unless someone has a specific question there.
No, nothing new. I mean, we heard a lot in some of the equity discussions over the last weeks, really. And then we have our training on the 31st, that's Friday, for the equity toolkit. So I think we're going to look at a lot of the policies and procedures anew once we've had that training a little bit. So, that if you have to have a meeting on August 10th, there might be something we can talk about related to data governance and data privacy at that point, but it would be pretty tight to turn something around.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Santos, you had something.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I'm trying to remember, I think it was back in February last meet, we discussed this item, and there was quite a bit of discussion on privacy and stuff like that. And there was the staff was going to come back with kind of a privacy, that's what's kind of policy for the whole city and working with GRU and all of the different charters. Do you know where that is, that kind of broader kind of policy on our data? And then also GPD stuff as well. I know we're doing a deeper dive into GPD now and kind of what we're doing, but I guess where, from the things that we left off in February, kind of what's coming back, I guess, or when do you think you'll have stuff back on that? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Manager?
So I apologize. We got a little waylaid with some other stuff over the last couple of months, and this is one of those things that did take a back seat to other stuff. But I was thinking about this, and the biggest issue with privacy really centers around GPD. And after we get through the next iteration of GPD issues, my plan is to bring this back after working with them. So yeah, again, I apologize, but we did get a little distracted. So
no apologies necessary. I just want to, a lot of important stuff did come up. I do think that we should add, for when we talk about our state legislative priorities, I think there are some things that we should try to lobby in terms of maybe sunshine records or things like that to the state on kind of privacy areas, and maybe we want to have more privacy for certain individuals and things like that. So if possible, I'd like for us to request to have that on whenever we talk about state legislative priorities, and from staff, from GRU, wherever it might be, hey, what are some things that we could lobby for? Because I know there's some things on the GRU side and really across the board, and I think that's one of the things we should try to lobby this year is tightening things up there.
Agreed. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm particularly concerned about things like utility records. There's a lot you can right now find out about citizens of Gainesville, about residents of Gainesville, that maybe aren't the healthiest things for the entire world to be able to know. But yeah, that's a discussion worth having at the next meeting, how we might fold that into the legislative package, legislative agenda. Commissioner Simmons.
I just wanted to say I think that's a great idea. I think that's great.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, anything else on digital inclusion? I'm sorry, on data governance.
I just want to do we need a motion to make sure that's on the legislative priorities, or should we give that direction? Make sure all the charters bring stuff back for that area? Or?
So I would prefer that we have a deeper discussion about that in this committee at the next meeting. Before we send it on to the full commission. Because what I'm thinking may not be exactly what you're thinking, or Commissioner Simmons or Commissioner Areola is thinking, and it would be good for us to be able to have that discussion.
So I guess I'll move that we request our charter officers to bring back at our next city commission meeting privacy areas that we could lobby for to the state legislature, or that we should ask to have more privacy. It's not the clearest thing.
All right, is there a second there? Okay, so Commissioner Simmons seconds. Anyone have any more thoughts on that before we go to public comment on it? Okay.
Commissioner Ward, I did have one question. This is
Yes.
Ginger. Okay. We do have a cybersecurity review that's in process that will be wrapping up in the next 4 or 5 weeks. And that may not be timely enough for your purposes, but we will be making some recommendations around privacy policy shortcomings, and perhaps you could leverage that information as well.
Absolutely, that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so seeing no other hands, we'll go to public comment, and the number for that, if you're watching, is 312-626-6799. That's 312-626-6799. 6799. And the code is 845-840-4125, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. All right, do we have any comments?
If anyone waiting on the line would like to make a comment, please press *9. I don't see anyone currently waiting.
All right, back to the commission. Any further comment on this one? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Commissioner Simmons, you're muted. Can't hear you.
I'm in favor. Aye.
Okay, great. All right, any opposed? Nope. Okay. All right, thank you very much. We'll move on from that one. Smart City update. Mr. Feldman, Mr. Hoffman, we had an update on that.
I'll give a brief one. So changeover from the old lights to the new lights continues as quickly as we possibly can. I'll say that it's hard to guarantee timelines these days because we have occasionally clumps of staff out for testing or out for leave or having to be quarantined. I'll give you one quick example. Many of our fleet staff right now are out for testing, so things are happening a little slower. We hope to be back to normal next week. But I know that work continues, and I've not heard of any delays. So the change out is happening as we speak. The next phase of that is the control nodes. Last I heard, GRU, and I don't mean to speak for GRU, and they can correct me if I misspeak, but last I heard, they should have their contract finalized with their vendor, and we're going to be using the same vendor so that we have a complementary system. That should be in September. So September, October timeframe, we'll be able to start acquiring the control nodes. Since then, and this pause has actually been, while we've waited for the contract to be finished, has been great because I've had to retask all of my smart city folks over to COVID response, building the dashboards, giving information making data available to our enforcement team, to the city manager. All the dashboards we talked about last week were built by the Smart City team and Adam Carr and Sustainable Development. So we've pulled in staff from all over to try to make sure that we have those tools available. So they've been repurposed, and I can say that it's obviously for good use, but it has meant that a lot of our Smart City work has been on the back burner for the last 2 months. But they're still developing really cool tools, as you saw or as you heard last week.
Dashboards look great. I'm really happy with that. Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Chair. Are the control nodes budgeted, and what percentage of control nodes do we have budgeted for the city?
So we are budgeted. We've already borrowed the money, so that money's sitting there waiting to be spent. We don't know. When we initially put that dollar amount in, it was a best guess order of magnitude. So really, until I look at what I think it might be, I think it could be less. I don't anticipate it being more because these products are coming down in price. So I'm confident that the amount we have allotted currently will allow us to deploy enough control nodes to make a difference. So that's my current anticipation. But until I see what the contract finalizes out at, see what other type of products are available. And then I don't want to forget the fact that we do need to have a community conversation about the privacy and security of these new devices that we're putting on people's streetlights. So I don't want people to I don't want us to fall victim to the same fate that some other cities have. Chicago being a perfect example, where they started to roll out sensors and all kinds of fancy things. They never engaged the community. Mayor Emanuel shut the whole thing down. And it was because of miscommunication and lack of engagement with the community. So I want to make sure that whatever we're buying and put out, everyone's aware of it and comfortable with it, and they understand the benefits of it before we actually start rolling a truck and attaching it to a light.
I think that's definitely a good idea. So as far as the control nodes, I know there's control nodes for like just the light fixture being on, and part of this funding would be to connect those to our main center that would be able to actually use those and turn them off and on or stuff like that. And I guess the other thing is, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I thought it was your question.
And I guess the other ones, so we are considering, and I guess do you have ones that we are considering to put into a different place? I mean, there's tons of other sensors, and do you have that kind of list and where kind of staff is considering placing more enhanced sensors in
Yes.
the city?
We presented something to, I believe it was this subcommittee last fall or a little bit before then, that showed where our focus areas were.
Yeah.
And we're really looking at it in different kind of packages of sensing abilities. So some of it will be focused on safety and security. Some of it will be focused on environmental factors. Some of it might be focused on Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi. So we may not be able to do everything on every pole. Otherwise you're going to have street lights that look like Christmas trees, but you'll be able to. We have identified the areas, for example, where pedestrian safety is most important and most vulnerable. So we've done our previous Smart City Coordinator, Ori Baber, did a tremendous amount of research and has some very beautiful pictures to show where we're focusing a lot of our efforts based on crime statistics, walk scores. We're going to have a research corridor as well, one that frequently changes out that UF has access to as they deploy new technologies and that local startups can access. So we've got a pretty good program thought out. We just need to actually get not the money. We've got the money. We need to get the devices in hand.
So one more follow-up question. So the RFP would be, I guess the RFP is already done. It would be selection of the vendor in September. Is that correct?
No, the vendor, they're done. They're just in the contract.
Oh, the contract. Okay. So I guess September is fast approaching, and if we're going to talk about doing a community engagement, kind of at least letting people know what's going on, when do you plan on starting that process?
It'd probably be fall time. So this particular, if it is the vendor, and obviously nothing's finalized yet, I'm not sure exactly where this is in the procurement process, so I'm going to choose my words very carefully. It might not just be their products. They might also have partners with compatible products. And there might be, since the last time I looked at this, almost a year ago, I'm sure they've added more partners and have more compatible products that they can add to their portfolio. So it'll be a conversation that starts with what the community needs and wants in a place. And then I think it's incumbent upon us then to go meet their need, as opposed to me showing up with a bunch of very shiny objects and saying, don't you want this? I'm going to go put it on the street light right now. Now I want to hear from them, like what are is it noise pollution? Is it, is it crime and safety? Is it pedestrian? What can we do? Do you want public Wi-Fi? I mean, those are the kinds of things that, we need to have a community conversation around. Of course, COVID makes it weird, but hopefully by the fall we can have those conversations.
I think that's a great path forward. Thank you.
And it's worth pointing out too that all of the commission too represents the people too. So I know we focus a lot on community engagement, and I'll get off my soapbox in 2 seconds, but you guys do speak for the people you represent in some cases. So we take that very seriously. So Commissioner Simmons is smirking at me, but she's a great example of the fact of somebody that, she does represent her district and she speaks for her community. So she says public Wi-Fi. I put a lot of stock in that, and I consider that public engagement in and of itself. So we'll do our best given COVID, and hopefully deliver something everybody's happy with.
Okay. You good, Commissioner Santos? Okay. Commissioner Simmons, did you have anything, or was that all?
Yes. No, I have some. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Hoffman, can you update us on the UF and City of Gainesville partnership as it relates to smart city initiatives? Where are we, and what's our path forward? And just an update.
I'll speak to the projects I'm involved with. Obviously, Bobby Griffith and SI does a lot of the day-to-day governance of that stuff, but I'll speak to two specific projects that I know the commission's interested in. One is the $2 million NSF project around Vision Zero. So that is currently underway. We just wrapped up our first year. We weren't able to spend all of our money because of COVID, but they've allowed us to carry it forward because we haven't been able to get a lot of the stuff out there, but it is moving along. So that's a 3-year project. So we just finished our first year. It's progressing well. The National Science Foundation also just, in fact, this weekend, August 1st is the deadline for our next big grant that we're going after with the University of Florida, focused on the Community Resource Paramedic Program. So we've been setting up the CRP program for a couple of years for this, making sure the National Science Foundation is aware of it, aware of its value. We, I think, are well positioned for this one. And this one will be an initial $50,000 just to help plan and develop a more thorough approach. And then it is followed up with $1 million. So I think we're very well positioned for that. Obviously, nothing is certain, but our relationship with NSF is very deep. That $50K will fund a little bit of some staff salary as well, just as the NSF grant for traffic safety funds a little portion of my salary. It allows us to spend time on these types of things that might take years to realize benefit to the city, but in the meantime, it covers my time. It covers a little bit of Ariella Box time to help move these things forward. So my hope is that we get that. If we're lucky, we get that $1 million grant early in 2021 is when it will be awarded.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Hoffman, so on the CRP grant, are we looking at any kind of telemedicine being a part of any of the CRP as part of that million? Because I know that's probably one of the top things they're probably looking at and make that. Health definitely wants to do more of that too.
We anticipated, so this NSF grant, the Civic Innovation Challenge, is the solicitation. Metro Lab is the kind of the organizer of it, although it's all funded by NSF. We pivoted early on to address COVID, and they wrote their solicitation focusing on initially natural disasters and mobility were the two topics they were interested in funding. But I spoke to the National Science Foundation, the Metro Lab folks, and said, COVID has happened. Isn't that a natural disaster? And they said, yes, write that. And so we've given, although there is some telemedicine in it, we've really shifted it with UF Health. UF Health has been an amazing partner on this one. So I got to give a shout out to them and their team, who's been really doing a lot of the writing on this grant. It's really got it's CRP with a COVID angle to it. And NSF and Metro Lab has voiced some very positive initial feedback on that idea. So Dr. Merck, Dr. Austin's his first name, is they've been amazing over at UF Health to help get us to the finish line, and we're days away from submitting.
Thank you, Chair.
Very good. All right. Anything else on this topic? Okay. Let's see. That brings us down to the end. We want to take a general public comment. Madam Clerk, anybody waiting for us right now?
I don't see anyone waiting in the queue today.
Okay. All right. Member comment then. Anything else to add? Commissioner Simmons.
It's Monday, Chair. I think everyone's home.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. We need to change it to another day so we get more participation.
We need to change it to live one of these days so we can see people. Yeah. I'm not suggesting that, by the way. I'm very safety conscious. Okay. Anything else? Okay. let's try to push the date out, Madam Clerk, from August 10th to later in the month.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. And then we'll get an email out on that as soon as we can get it nailed down. Commissioner Simmons.
And I was going to suggest to Chair, if City Manager's office gets some feedback prior to our next meeting, they can always share with one-on-one with us. I don't think we necessarily have to meet on that, but if they want to, I mean, I would love an update as soon as they get something.
Absolutely. Okay. If I don't see anything else, we are adjourned. Thank you.